Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back. So I've made in the Eachine HV, and come to my surprise, I was not the one with good luck. Mine also kept flipping even on a 5S. So to be honest, looking at it, I really like the frame. However, the execution of this whole quad is kind of wrong. But since I like the frame so much, I really do actually want to try it. And I really want to set this up and actually just want to upgrade it to something that's going to be pretty sick, I think, hopefully. Now, from watching Kebab's video, he was talking about these motors are really good. And I take his word for it. And I really want to fix this in order to really enjoy this whole quad here. Now, unfortunately, like most people possibly, I do have the death roll. I just hover. Boom. It'll just flip out. I'll probably show you that right now. And I was only on a 5S. I didn't bother trying 6S or a 4S. Just when I saw that, I don't want to risk breaking it. So I just completely stopped flying it there. I said, you know what? When I go back to the shop, I'm going to go ahead and completely just run a sick-ass makeover on this. Let's talk about the makeover that we're going to be doing right now. For flight controller, it was a little bit difficult to figure out what flight controller I wanted to use. I had two on the table. Both were Maytech. I was either going to use this one. This is an old F405 with an XSR built in. I also wanted to use the Hakcrc all-in-one with the receiver and the gyros, but they're too big and they won't fit in this frame. So this one I'm going to leave it for another build for another day. And the one that I finally chose was the Maytech F722 with dual cameras and SD card expansion, OSD, and it's a really nice F7 flight controller. So I'm going to be using this one here. Now, the main issue, it's almost guaranteed, with this is the ESC. So what ESC was I going to go for? I was going to go for another metal ESC, the Holybro Tigo 32 metal 4-in-1, but I already have that, I think, on 2 builds already, and it's flying very nicely, very beautiful. So I decided to put the T-Motor F45 amp version. I had this laying around. I've already done the noise testing on it. It tested pretty good, and this will give it a real nice real-world scenario with a 6S setup. So this is the whole idea. This is what I'm trying to do here. So for ESC's T-Motor F45 amp, now don't forget, these have F3 microcontroller units for the processor for these ESCs, which is really nice. And they also have a shunt resistor for each ESC. So we have telemetry, and this does support telemetry. So it's going to be a really nice setup. Now for camera, it's an okay camera that's on here. But I also received the Foxeer Mix, and looking online, I really like the image quality of it. So that will really reduce the weight of me removing this thing and just installing this. And it's going to be really nice because we can see if we could also possibly make this into a long-range build in a way. And what do I mean by that? Is sticking a 3300 milliamp 4S LiPo on this bitch and see what's going to happen. So that's I'm kind of looking forward to do, really. So luckily enough, this will go all the way through from the back because this frame has 2 mounts, as you can tell here. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So you could mount stacks here and mount stacks here. This is going to be for the ESC flight controller. Here I'm going to remove the buzzer and the Bluetooth stuff. I'm possibly going to keep the VTX. Not sure just yet. But also the camera board is going to go back here with the VTX. So this is going to be pretty interesting as well. I'm going to be using an X10 Plus radio for this. So enough talking, and let's just start with it. Alright guys, so now the connection of the ESC here. As you can tell, it comes with this really nice wire, and it's a connector to both sides. However, the Maytag doesn't have a connector, which is totally fine also. Now, as you can tell here, I've split up the wires with this little white one in the middle. This is not connected, so this actually does nothing here, but still don't connect it to anything. Here on the left, we have the VBAT, ground, and telemetry. So this is what these are for. And here are motors 1 through 4. And the correct order that they go in is as follows from left to right. So motor 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, it starts from here 1 and this ends at 4. The middle white one is nothing. Green is on that side is telemetry, and then the battery power. And these are the wires that we're going to need to connect to our Maytag here. So what we're going to do first is we're actually going to cut this connector. I'm just going to cut that side because these are all going to be soldered on. And I'm going to remove this one from the pins down. All right. Oh, there we go. That works also. Okay, I just pulled it and took it out. All right, that's perfect now. Okay, so let's get this connector now. And let's start with the power. So the power is going to be important. Now you were like, okay, well, this is an all-in-one. Where the hell are you going to put the power? Well, the thing is, you can put it anywhere. You can even put it right here if you wanted to, or right here. So it'll just work just fine. Or you can even put it on one of these. It doesn't really matter. So we're going to see the orientation of the board. So this is going to go in like this, and this one's going to go on top of it like so. And this is going to be coming in from the front, and this is going to be set up like so. So we can just apply power to right here, these two in the front, right there. So we can give it power from here, and then we could route the rest of the motors correctly, and the telemetry also. So here's the telemetry. So let's just actually do that. I'm going to prepare the wires real quick, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I prepared the wires here. So this ESC is going to go into the quad like so. And then this flight controller is going to go like this. This is the front here. Unfortunately, this will be sticking out, but we're not going to need it because we're not powering the flight controller, because this is an all-in-one flight controller, so we're not going to be powering it up from here. We can just power it up from one of the ESC pads. So I'm going to take the VBAT and the ground from the ESC, the wires here. The green one there is telemetry. So I'm going to take these two powers, and I'm going to give power to the flight controller. So let's go ahead and actually do that real quick. So I'm just going to put that here. Now we don't really need big wires here because this is not going to be this is not going to be doing much here. We're not going to be providing power to ESCs or anything like that. So that's why we can just get away with doing this here. Some might say, well, why don't you just set it up at the battery terminal? Well, I can, but there's no need. That'll be sticking on the side of the quad, and I kind of just don't want that. I can do this also because they're all connected together. However, here we're bypassing the shunt resistor for current reading, but we don't need that because this has telemetry and it has a current reader for each ESC, which comes in now the green wire here for telemetry. I'm going to put it right here with this pad because it's going to be on our X6. So there we go. Just going to double check nothing is bridged or anything. Looking good. And now we need to figure out which one's motor 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then just solder them to the blobs. All right, so the first one here is going to be motor 1, and just double checking. Yep, this is motor 1. So I'm going to set up, and actually, oh no, we don't want to do that. So here's motor 1 right there, as you can tell. So we're going to set that up right here. So that was motor 1. Now we're going to go for motor 2, which is right here, which is right there. Awesome. And then motor 4, which is right here. Now there are pads on the bottom, so we can do also, since this yellow wire is really terrible. Look at it, it's like really getting pulled. So what I can also do is remove this. If I remember correctly, there should be on the bottom motor 1, and it's right there, motor 1. So we could even just install that right there. And I think I'm going to do that. It'll just make it a lot cleaner. There we go. And it'll give me more, I'll just have more space to move things around if I ever needed to, which is really good as well. There we go. So that was motor 1. Okay. So now, as you can tell, it's not really that clunked up anymore. Like, I have more freedom here. And actually, I should probably also do motor 3 as well, as you can tell, because that's really keeping it very close. So we're going to do motor 3 as well. So let's just remove that. We're going to put that on the bottom. It's not looking like the cleanest quad ever, but it's going to do just fine. So when we put this on top, hopefully that'll fit beautifully. Yep, that fit really nicely. So yeah, so the ESC is done like this. We could just remove this. Now we're good to go. We could start installing the ESC here, which we'll do in a little in a later step. Right now, we're gonna start figuring out where everything else goes on the flight controller. Because then we're just going to bring in the flight control. All we have to do is just stick that connector right there, and then we're good to go basically. So give me a moment and I'll be back and we'll see what's the next step. All right, everybody. So I managed to set up the Foxeer Mix board in the back here, and I've soldered up the motor wires here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the camera, then VTX, and then the receiver. So here I've cleaned up the wires slightly. I actually routed all of the motor outputs to the bottom here because there's some out here, and then just kept the ground telemetry and the positive from the ESC here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect this on the bottom. All right, so now the flight controller is into place, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up correctly. There we go. I had to trim some of these rubber grommets off in order to be able to close up the top here. All right, so what I've done here with the Foxeer Mix, it's different. It comes with a connector and it also gives you some pads. So I'm going to use the pads here. I picked this up the other day from Banggood, just arrived. It's silicone servo cables. And the reason what's really nice about this roll is that the 3 wires are together. So you can kind of keep things clean when you need to, especially if you're using for servos and stuff. And this is what I did here right now. One of them I accidentally, basically just tore off, but it's totally fine. So now we're going to set up the camera. This is the yellow wire would be, and then there is a positive and negative. Now I'm going to give this 5 volts. That's what I'm planning on giving it, because the Maytech flight controller here should be able to provide enough 5 volts for that thing. So it should be pretty good in that perspective. So we're going to have to take a look at the front here. We need C1, which is right there, ground and 5 volts. So let's just go ahead. Now this board has 2 camera inputs. So if you ever wanted to put up a second input, you can go ahead and do that on C2. Which I think I might do in a later video, but not sure just yet. But we'll see as time goes on. So I'm just going to give this power like so here. Actually, I should cut the wire slightly. Yeah. We should have done the VTX first, because this whole build is not kind of, it's not like your ordinary build, I would say. It's just a little bit more complicated because we have the wires for the camera are going backwards instead of forward now. So yeah, so instead let's just bring in the VTX first. I think that's a smart thing to do now. And where did I put the VTX? Here's the VTX, and now we're gonna have to do some kind of extension possibly. Yes, I think so, because the wires will not reach all the way there. So that is a bummer. However, this just gives me a reason not to use this VTX. I got some new VTXs and I'll be right back. So this is the new VTX. I haven't done videos on them just yet. Banggood sent me 2, and I didn't know this, but if you flip this over, it has an SD card. That is insane. I didn't know this. Anyways, this is the one we're going to use right now. So we're going to need the power. As you can tell right here, it takes 7 to 26 volts. How much is a 5S? I forgot. Or a 6S LiPo. Alright, so yeah, this is going to be good for a 6S. So now what we're going to need to do is just solder the power here. So I'm going to trim the wire for the positive. And this also provides 5 volt in ground for a camera if you needed it. So the middle 2 here we're going to have to cut off, because those are the 5 volt, and I'm not going to need those. So I'm going to trim those off right now. Alright, so now we're left with 4 wires: smart audio, power, and the video feed. So this was going just like this, so that's really nice before. So we can just install, we'll do that later. Let's just set up the wires right now. So we're just gonna put this down here. So now we have the wires for the camera, which are right here, which we're not gonna need just yet. Now we're gonna install the video and the smart audio here. And the video is gonna be on, the video output is gonna be on VTX. And I'm gonna just set that up right here. So here's the video for us on the Maytech. It's going to be the VBAT, ground, and VTX. VTX is going to be the yellow wire, so that's going to be going to the VTX. Alright, nice. And then the next one is ground, which is here, and I haven't prepared just yet. So we're going to prepare these 2 wires. Alright, so I've gone ahead and prepared the VTX wires. Now we have the power, ground, the video already connected to the video, and we're going to put the smart audio on TX3 right there. So I'm just get that out of the way. Next we need the power, which is right next to the VTX right there. We have ground and we have VBAT. VBAT is the battery voltage basically. So in this flight controller or all-in-one, there is no other regulator for the VTX, such as a 9-volt, but that's going to be totally fine, hopefully. And we'll see that as time goes on. So now, okay. So like this, we've connected the video transmitter. Now we need to get the wires for the camera, which is the Foxeer Mix here. And they're going to be a little bit above that. And I should have probably made this wire a little bit longer. It's not going to reach possibly. Alright guys, so now I've kind of just skipped over a couple things, and let's go ahead and take a look at what I've done. So I've installed the VTX up here with smart audio. Now this VTX turns out to have a DVR. I'll have a link down below. I just got these from Banggood. So it's a nice platform to test before I do the review anyways. I got 2 of them. It does have a microphone as well, and it's up to 800 milliwatts, so that's going to be pretty good. 25 up to 800. Now for the camera here, the Foxeer Mix, what I've done is, as you can tell, here's the wire. It goes between the ESC and the flight controller. I don't know if that's going to create an issue, but we'll see how that does. So it's going through between these two and getting connected. This is the Mix now. It's a lot smaller than the previous camera. So this has been completely redone, other than the frame and the motors just stayed here. So this is basically a whole new quadcopter. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So yeah, here's the camera board right there. The SD card's on the bottom. And there's the VTX now. So we're just going to go ahead and close this up here. And I'm just going to add the nylon nuts and put everything together. Now for the receiver here, it's kind of a little bit damaged. I might replace this with something else. I don't know just yet. Maybe an R9M. But I don't want to put an R9M just yet because R9M could cause some noise. So I want to see how it runs with just this little XM Plus here and see how well it'll do in the beginning. And then later on we'll probably replace it if we find that this thing turns out to be efficient or really awesome. I just don't know yet. So we're going to see how well that's going to turn out. So I'm just going to put everything back together here. Just stick up the nylon nuts into place and we'll take a look at it and hope for the best. Tomorrow I'll be taking this out in the morning. Alright guys, so it is complete, and that actually took a lot longer than I expected. It took me like 2.5 hours to 3 to actually get it down just right. So as you can tell here, let's take a closer look. We have the T-Motor F45 amp. We're without a low ESR capacitor. I really want to see how this does without a low ESR capacitor. Later on, if I really like how this thing flies, then I'll add a low ESR capacitor. Here we're using the Maytag all-in-one F722. Unfortunately, this is going to be sticking out right there, but it's going to be good enough for now. It's not going to touch the props in any sort of way. On the bottom here, we have the Foxeer Mix board. And good thing that the board wire is actually really long, so that's a huge plus here. For it to go here, and it's very flexible, unlike the run cam. I do like the run cam though, but this one is going to be my first test for the Mix here, and it is quite a lot. It's a lot smaller than the previous camera that was already in here, which was the I think Foxeer Predator. I don't know where I placed it, but it was the Foxeer Predator. Yeah, I just lost it. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out later. And then on top here, we're using the new VTX from Eachine, which has a DVR, and I didn't even know that when I received them. When I flipped the board, I noticed it. So we'll be testing this DVR, Foxeer Mix, and also the T-Motor F45 amp, as well as the frame. So this is going to be a really nice build. I don't need this anymore, which is really nice. However, this board is also an F7. I think it's a dual gyro, if I remember correctly, with 2 camera inputs. So it's pretty crazy. So I'm not going to need a run cam or any type of FPV camera since I have the Mix in here. It's going to make for a really nice 6S build. If I do like the way it flies and I want to switch it down to a 4S, I have some T-Motor F60 V3s, which I really love. And I was actually thinking of redoing this build. This was a long time ago. It's rocking the Racer Star Tattoo F4S with an AKK VTX. The reason why I stopped flying it is because aluminum was really shitty, and this is one of the big reasons why I stopped flying it. I also took one of the motors out because I was testing it. I was doing like the thrust tests and stuff, but this is one of my favorite motors along with the F40 V3s. So I might put them on here or replace this with the new Geb RC Mark II, I think, frame. It's a really nice frame. It has a lot of space inside. We're going to take a look at it in another video. I might do a rebuild on that one, just remove everything from this and put it on that one. I don't know just yet, but overall it came out pretty good, and tomorrow we'll know how well it flies, and I'm going to be doing a lot more flying videos on my channel. I do miss flying quite a lot, and finally the weather is starting to clear up, so that's really nice here. And if you take a closer look, you'll see that I have damaged the frame here, and that is not from anything. It didn't come like that. It's when I had the zip ties for the run cam here. When I went to cut them off, I actually just, you know, cut the carbon a little, but it's not really a big problem, just to take note of. But yeah, this is going to make for an interesting little quadcopter. I don't know how well it's going to perform, but I basically rebuilt the whole thing. There's nothing stock left other than the motors and the frame, and that's it. And for the Xt60, as you can tell, it's pretty rigid here. As you can tell, I just zip tied it to the standoff right there, and I think that's gonna do just fine for me right now. And then what I'll do later on, if I do like this, I will design something for here that will hold the Xt60 into place really nicely. And well, that's really it, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll have linked everything down below. Go ahead and check that out. That greatly supports the channel. And just stay tuned, and we'll see the flight footage of this. Hopefully it's efficient. If it's efficient, then I might do some other mods to it, such as GPS and possibly a R9 receiver, so we can do some long range stuff with this. I don't know just yet, but we'll see how well everything on here performs, and it's going to be really interesting. And I'm going to leave it at that, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.